Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Andrew Warren, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing Apple stock a little bit further in depth and also talking about whether I think this stock could grow a lot potentially in the next month or so, because as you all know, there has been the recent announcement on the date of Q2 earnings that Apple will be having a 4-for-1 stock split. And if you're not familiar with what that means, that basically means that whatever price Apple is per share on the date of the stock split, then it will be split 1/4 of that share price. So for example, let's pretend on August 31st or whenever the stock split actually happens that the share price is what it is right now. Let's just pretend hypothetically just for the sake of a good example, let's just pretend it's $427. So this $427 will be split into like 1/4. So that'll be about $107, $108 for the share price if it does split at this price. Now keep in mind though, most likely what is going to happen is that we could see an increase in this upcoming few days before the stock split, or we could actually see a downturn as well. But what I think is more likely here is an increase in the stock price, and we've already seen this based off of some really stellar earnings with the most recent earnings report for Q2. I guess technically Q3 instead of Q2 for Apple. It says it on the chart right here, Q3, so we'll go with that. But like I said, they totally smashed expectations. A lot of people were actually expecting this stock to perform poorly, and we're expecting a negative announcement of them not beating expectations because of like so many Apple stores being shut down and things like that. And I think people were so inaccurate with those expectations because for some reason they were expecting the sales to go down, and of course sales go down also because of the stores being closed. But what most people don't realize is that with Apple products, most people just buy them online on the Apple Store. And like when a new iPhone comes out, most people order that new iPhone from the Apple Store. Obviously, of course, we're your cell phone service providers as well. They have iPhones with their service attached to that, and you can buy different plans and deals. But there are many people out there that just buy unlocked iPhones or buy it with their cell phone service from Apple themselves. So the retail stores are just really there for the individuals that haven't transitioned to that online ecosystem just yet of purchasing things online, like with e-commerce, like with Amazon. So the stores are more for those types of people that just don't buy a lot of products online. And of course, it's for people to test out new Apple products as well. So before we get even farther into this video, I almost forgot, but as always, if you do appreciate the content, just the consistent content on this channel, whether it's Tesla stock, whether it's Apple stock, Microsoft, Amazon, anything like that, I try to keep you all up to date. But if you do enjoy this type of content, please make sure to smash that like button. But like I said, a lot of people were expecting some poor results for this most recent quarter, and they were basing a lot of that just on the fact that stores were closed down. Apple stores were being closed down because of the Rona. And they were also expecting people to buy less iPhones as more people lost their jobs. But what they didn't take into consideration was the fact that people were actually getting more money than they were used to with this most recent unemployment bonus, where you got like an extra $600 per week on top of like the normal $400. People were getting like $4,000 a month, which is a lot more than what some of these people's typical jobs paid them. So for many people in this rough economic time, they were actually getting more money than ever before. So they had extra money to spend on iPhones. And then also with the stimulus check stacked on top of that, that's an extra $1,200 to buy an iPhone. And ironically enough, $1,200 is about the price of an iPhone. So you could basically say the government gave you a free iPhone. You can kind of justify it a little bit if you get $1,200 and you're like, man, I need to upgrade my iPhone all of a sudden. So people could kind of justify it with like them needing a new iPhone. Obviously, you know, let's say they had like an iPhone 6, an iPhone 7, or they're like me where they had like a really old iPhone and finally decided to upgrade years later. I didn't do that with my stimulus check. But what I'm saying here is that a lot of people had access to funds over these past few months that they didn't have access to before. So that's why I think Apple stock smashed expectations, not only just because people had more money. I honestly would have expected positive results regardless of whether people had extra money this time around or not, just because I have faith in Apple's business model. For one thing, when you do purchase an Apple product and get into that Apple ecosystem, it's kind of hard to get out of it, to be honest. And I mean that in a good way. The products are really good. They're expensive, yes, they definitely have a premium on them, but I think that goes along with just the Apple culture as well. Anyone that has an Apple product is going to automatically be viewed as having a little bit higher status, and that's just because of our Western culture and the culture around higher, more expensive products that are also known to be high quality, like with Apple. But that's another thing I'd like to mention as well, is that with iPhones, for someone that starts out purchasing an iPhone's their first smartphone, it's pretty unlikely that they'll switch to another phone, in my opinion, just because of the iOS interface for the iPhone, I think it's absolutely perfect. And when you compare it to like the Android interface, and I'm definitely not throwing shade out to anyone out there that does have an Android, that user interface just doesn't fit my preference personally. And from my perspective, once you get used to that iPhone interface, it's pretty difficult to switch to anything else, especially with like the Android interface as well. It's just everything seems so perfect with the iOS interface. But that's just a side point. What I'm talking about here in this video is whether we could see a significant increase in this share price of Apple in this upcoming month or two, with the stock split coming up pretty soon this month. I believe it's at the 31st, so that's what I'm going to go with. I could be wrong, don't take my word on that, but I believe that's when the stock split is going to happen. And as always with this video, nothing that I say or have said already is to be considered financial advice. And when it comes to short-term predictions like these, it is very easy for me to be wrong, because in the short term, it's a lot more difficult to predict where a stock is going to go compared to in the long term. In the long term, it's a lot more realistic and easy to have like accurate expectations. So with this, I think we could possibly see a little bit more of an increase either up before the stock split or maybe even after it as well, because I think after the stock is split, when it's like $120 or like $108, we could actually see a lot more people buying, especially the Robinhood retail investors that are looking for a cheaper stock that they can throw some money into. And that's the issue right now. Yes, some people do have access to fractional shares, others don't, but what really matters in regards to that is that there are just many investors out there that even if they did have access to fractional shares, they're probably not willing to look into investing that much. There's a lot of investors that don't do a lot of homework on their stocks, and so they may just be looking at their options in the stock market, not even really aware of anything other than just the basic functions of Robinhood, that may be buying Apple once they either hear the news somehow or just see it on the top stocks list because it's like $100 or something like that. And it may be a little bit more attractive to them, because I guarantee there are people right now that would like to invest a tiny bit of money, let's say maybe $100 to $200, and they'd like to invest in Apple, but they just don't have enough money to do so. So I do think there is the potential of the stock price of Apple increasing over the next month or two, and it could be a significant movement, but I really want to emphasize, don't get your hopes up. This $427 per share right now, this value of a share of Apple, this is likely to have already priced in a lot of these Robinhood investors and just general retail investors buying Apple stock in the future after the stock split just because it's cheap. So keep in mind, it's probably really likely that it's already priced in, just because of the fact that that's how the stock market works. When it comes to speculation and pricing things in, that's what people like to do. That's what investors do in the stock market. Even with Tesla stock as well, that's one thing I emphasize in my videos. It's a little bit expensive and it's at a premium because it is priced in the fact that there is very little competition for Tesla, and also it is priced in potentially a few more events coming up in the future, like with Battery Investor Day as well. I still feel like we could see some big movements after Battery Investor Day or up before that event. But that's just my point right here, is that investors do like to price things in early. So with this share price that we are seeing right now, we could actually be seeing this already being priced in after the stock split, and investors expecting a surge of smaller investors buying into this stock because it looks to be a little bit cheaper, when technically, fundamentally, there's really no change to the actual value of the shares other than the number and the fact that it's been split into 4. But I also, like I said earlier, it could be priced in, but there is the potential for this stock to go up significantly just within this next month or two. And I'm especially curious to see what happens after the stock split, but it's also going to be interesting to see what happens up until that date, because like I said, there's going to be a lot of people speculating like myself. Could we see a surge after this stock split, or could we see a surge before it because of so many people buying, expecting a surge after it? So like I said, when it comes to the short-term predictions, you really just have to think about human psychology. What are these other investors going to do other than you? What do you expect everyone else to be doing with Apple stock? Are they expecting the same things as you? So that's the thing to keep in mind. This is a little bit difficult to predict, so I don't really like to do prediction videos on whether for sure I think a stock is going to skyrocket, like let's say within the next day or the next week or maybe even next few weeks. But I don't really like to speculate on those things. I can always like give my personal thoughts about something in that moment. But like I said, this could really go either way. I see the potential of this stock growing significantly in this next upcoming month or two. But then again, we could actually see just nothing come out of this stock even after the stock split. It could already be priced in. So there's that possibility as well. And then there's also the possibility of a pullback where after the stock split, somehow for some reason, we see the stock go down even more in value than when it was at this $427 number. So there's a lot of possibilities here, but I think we could see an increase in this next month or so as people are getting more excited about the potential after a stock split. So anyways, I just wanted to share this video with you all. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, please make sure to smash that like button. And also feel free to sign up to Robinhood and Webull in the description below. If you sign up with those links, then you'll get some free stocks. And especially with Webull right now, you can get up to 60 free stocks depending on how much you deposit into your account. So it's nice passive income. But I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend.